This is the X-Zone Broadcast Network, broadcasting worldwide on broadcast affiliates and satellite program providers, including CNN Broadcast Network, Sirius Satellite Network, Star Media, Good News Radio Network, Angel Broadcast Network, Wiki Broadcast Network, and WPBN TV. For more information on the X-Zone Broadcast Network, visit us at www.xzbn.net.
All Hit Radio.
Welcome to the X-Zone, a place where fact is fiction and fiction is reality. Now, here's your host, Rob McConnell.
And welcome back to the X-Zone, everyone. My name is Rob McConnell. We're coming to you from our broadcast center in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada. And if you'd like to reach us, toll free 800-610-7035. Email xzone at xzoneradiotv.com. On all social media sites, X-Zone Radio TV. And you can listen to the X-Zone during the live broadcast Monday through Friday from 8 p.m. until midnight, or the refeeds of past shows that we play the rest of the day at www.xzoneradiotv.com, where it's available 24/7, 365. Just a bit of programming notes here, X-Zone Nation. Starting next Monday, we're on two new networks. We're on the Digital Broadcast Network and the Digital Satellite Network, so that'll give us a greater reach. And we're also going to be broadcasting TV live for the first 3 hours of the show, Monday through Friday, from 8 until 11 o'clock Eastern. Butch Witkowski is my guest this hour. He is with the UFO Research Center of Pennsylvania. The website is PAUFOsearch.com. And Butch, welcome back to the X-Zone, my friend. How are things in Pennsylvania? Craig, do we have Butch? Can you do your magic and let me know? What is going on here? Just give us a sec here. I see what you did. Okay, there's Butch. Hey, Butch, how are you?
I'm fine, sir. How are you?
Good. Great talking to you again, my friend. How are things in Pennsylvania these days?
Very busy. I'm getting an echo.
It's all right. I give them away for free. You don't have to pay for those. Yeah, we've got problems with lines tonight, and I apologize for that. There's nothing we can do. Sometimes we get good trunk lines, and other times we get bad trunk lines.
Story of my life.
So, what kind of a UFO activity are you guys having in Pennsylvania these days?
UFO activity, not so much. Bipedal creatures, lots.
Really?
Yep. Started back on November 14th. Mm-hmm. Got a report from a gentleman, ex-Air Force, ex-commercial pilot for 40 years, lived in the same area all his life, went to the same game lands, hunted those game lands all his life, grew up in the area all his life, walking his two Weimaraner dogs up a fire trail, which is just a trail big enough to put a fire truck through.
Right.
And the dogs start going bananas. They start ripping and tearing. They want to tear off into the woods to the right. He looks, he doesn't see anything. He doesn't hear anything. Then he's starting to think, well, possum, raccoon, maybe a deer, could be a bear, no problem. And then the dogs are like following something that he doesn't see, and then out of the right-hand side of the tree line walks, and I'm going to describe it the way he did. He said, if you took Arnold Schwarzenegger, made him 7 or 8 feet tall, no long protruding arms, nothing that looks like Bigfoot. He said, I've seen pictures of those. He said, this is nothing like, he said, just a very muscular, tall man, regular arm length, no big feet, nothing like that. Cover him in short brown or short dark brown or short black hair. Give him a protruded snout like maybe a bulldog would have. And he said this thing just walks across in front of us. The dogs at this point have now dug holes in the ground trying to get at it. It does not look at him. It pays no attention to the dogs. Walks across the road into the other side of the tree line, and that's it. So he grabs up the dogs, drags those back to the truck, puts them in the truck, retrieves a handgun from his glove box, walks back up the road, walks into where it came out. He sees nothing. Walks on the other side, sees nothing. Next morning, he and two of his fellows load up heavily with arms, and they go to the same area. There's the dog holes where they dug in, and they walk into the right, nothing. They walk into the left. They get about 25 yards in. They stop. They freeze. They all look at each other, and they back out of there with their guns pointed forward. Get to the road and beat feet back to their vehicles and gone. Called me on the phone, told me what happened, says, I don't know what happened, what was in there, but all I know is we all had the same feeling at the same time. We needed to get out of there or something really, really bad was going to happen, and we split. And he said, I want to tell you something, Butch. He said, I'm never going back there as long as I live. Period.
Holy cow. Any idea what happened or what it was, Butch?
No, because we've gotten more reports, and we've got one in Cambria County. And that one, the gentleman, I mean, we got two in one county that are in the same state forest. And the second one, a guy's driving down the road, going home, along the guide wires and guardrails, and a creature comes into sight, into view, which he describes, here we go, he describes as a wolf, but hunched down and tearing and eating at a deer. It looks up at him. Its eyes are glowing yellow. He slows down a bit. Then he picks up speed, gets around it because he's not going to stop. And he said, it's huge. And he just proceeds along his way. And then we get another one, and that was just a few weeks ago, late July. And then we get another one where a lady's walking her dog. She's a 5-pound Chihuahua and an 80-pound pit bull, and they're walking around town one evening, and about 8:30, just before dusk, street lights are on. Town's Park in Portage, Pennsylvania. And it leads to the edge of some woods, and it's about a 25-acre plot, and the roads meet at a street light, and she was on the main road. She was within 25 yards of the street light, and there was this huge figure that she described as 7 feet tall, just standing back from the light. She could see the legs. They were covered in hair, bent backwards like a dog. She said she couldn't make out the face or any other details, keeping in mind that she had the two dogs with her, and the pit bull was extremely protective. She thought, time to get out of there.
Yeah.
And she goes back, and she's declaring that she saw in her words, it is a freaking werewolf, period. So I guess they went out again, and she heard stuff crashing around in the woods, and then and then another one came in from Cumberland County just tonight of a dogman-like creature in that area. We're still taking the information on that, but to have 4 sightings in that short period of time is very unusual. Even though when you go back to that area of Clearfield County, I mean, lots of UFO stuff up there, lots of different types, Bigfoot, Dogman reports, strange creature reports, and they go way back. And, we've tracked some reports back to 1993. So, but the two, the ones, the guy driving home and the lady, I mean, their descriptions are almost identical, plus the one we have tonight, which, like I said, we just got today. Lon Strickler got it. We're working on it right now. And that description is another one of a wolf-type creature. So that's what we're working on.
Wow. Is there anything in the history of these areas that predate these sightings? And is there any speculation as to what this creature or these creatures are?
To be honest, at this point, we're still going back to see if we can find anything. Like we had in that area, a lot of Indian, different types of tribes lived in those areas, because Skinwalker was brought up. So we're going back and looking at, we had Shawnee, we had Susquehannock, Delaware, Iroquois. I mean, we've had them all down in that area, all over Pennsylvania. So we're looking there to see if we can find anything going backwards.
Mm-hmm.
But right now, right now we're just gearing up. I mean, the van's loaded, the mobile units are ready to roll. We're just gathering people up now, and we got to go up and look. We just got to go look. Now, the lady says that the area where she and her dogs encountered this creature said there's a lot of caves in there and old mines. And she said it would be perfect for an animal that size to hide. So we have the same thing in Clearfield on the first one.
Right.
We got these mines all over the place. So I don't know. I guess we'll just have to go in and find out.
It's funny because last night I had Nick Redfern on the show. And Nick was talking about his new book called Chupacabra Road Trail or Road Trip.
Mm.
And in Puerto Rico, there are a lot of caves as well. And it is speculated that these chupacabra that are still being seen to this very day live in the caves.
Well, I've said it for a long time, and I've under some fire from the Bigfoot folks, which doesn't really bother me much. But, these guys run through the woods, banging on trees with axe handles, throwing pork chops and donuts all over the place, screaming at the top of their lungs, just doing all this really weird stuff. And I'm thinking, you know what, guys, why aren't you looking for their trash?
Yeah.
Why aren't you looking for maybe an old abandoned building, a cave, a dugout, anything like that, where you can see that there's bones laying there from something they may have taken for food, and you'll see chew marks or broken bones or smashed skulls or whatever.
Right.
And I said there has to be some place if they are a flesh and blood creature, which there is no proof of one way or the other. They have to have old. They have to have young. There have to be females. There has to be sex, or we got one-legged Bigfoot running all over the world. So I'm assuming all those things are in play. They need water. And I did a search a little while back, just a couple months ago, of 3 reports in a certain area, and all seem pretty much exactly identical in the reports. But lo and behold, within a quarter mile of the reports is an old abandoned shoe factory that closed down in the 1920s. It's a 3-story building with a basement. And less than 500 feet away from that building is a running stream. Water and housing.
There you go.
So we need to go down to that basement and really give it a look through. And, we know they need water because so many tracks are found near a stream or a river or lake, So I just think that we're just doing it wrong. So I think if we go about trying to find out where their trash is, where they live, where they hide, where they hibernate. I don't even know if they do that. But it sure beats the hell out of spending, $14, $15 on a rack of ribs.
Unless you're going to eat them.
Well, yeah. I'd rather eat them. I'm not going to find me nailing them to a tree somewhere.
Oh, my gosh. Plus, the big question that I've always asked the Bigfoot people are, how do you know that Bigfoot eats meat?
Correct. He could be a vegetarian.
Yeah. Like there's, as far as I know, Butch, having spoken to these people over the years, they've never come. Whoops. Thanks, Craig. They've never they've never found a nest, or they've never found a homestead that has any proof of what they eat.
Yeah. So if let's just say that Pennsylvania is loaded, and I mean loaded with old buildings that closed down in the late 1800s, early 1900s, before the war, after the war.
Right.
They're all over the place. And so there's a place for them to hide. But nobody's going to go into those old buildings. They're afraid they're going to fall in on them. So they got water close by on all those buildings that we looked at. And if they aren't meat eaters, okay, so then we should be looking for seeds.
Yeah.
We should be looking for branches of edible, edible vegetation and berries. And there's going to be droppings. There's going to be scat. So if we find that, are they loaded with seeds or berry remnants? I mean, this is all stuff that I think, again, going back to, me with my forensic stuff, I think you need to prove forensically first that it's a possibility that they could be using these places. We just found one up in northern Schuylkill County. It's along a railroad track, abandoned railroad track, by the way. And what they would do was, like, trains coming in from going into and out of, all the way from Canada all the way down into the south, hauling coal and iron and steel. And these places were built along the tracks, and they're really well-built brick, and some are stone. And they're 2.5-story buildings. They're very long. They have big kitchens, multiple bedrooms, bathrooms, living rooms, and they're all abandoned now. But when a train was coming out of Canada, well, that crew, when it got to that point, they got off and a fresh crew got on, and then they continued on. And that's how they would shuffle the crews back and forth. Well, we got a hold of a guy that I know that's really into trains, and he said, those things are all over the place. So he's going to try and get me a map to show me where some of them still stand. Some of them, of course, are no longer there. But he said, there's about 5 or 6 of them right in that area.
Wow.
They all have basements.
But is it possible that the Bigfoot people really don't want to find Bigfoot?
Boy, that'd sure ruin a big day, wouldn't it?
Yeah, because once he's proven to exist or not exist, the game's over for them.
Well, yeah, and that's what brought on a lot of the interdimensional stuff that they started playing on, because, people kept asking, why are you only finding one footprint?
Yeah.
Or the footprints go out into, or you have multiple footprints, but they go out into a field and they disappear. Well, they had no answer for that. So let's use this one. How about interdimensional travel? There is no such thing as interdimensional travel. There's not even a description in the dictionary, any dictionary that we looked at, for interdimensional travel or interdimensional.
But I'm sure if you looked at a lot of the words that are used in the paranormal, you won't find them in a dictionary either.
Yeah, it's true. But look, if you all want to go out and we want to do this, then let's go out and let's get it done and come up with the answer. And if this is what we come up with, hey, this is what we came up with. So we did all this, and we found scat with berries in, so we can say, okay, so they eat berries. And we found bones that have chew marks or gnaw marks in them, so we know they eat. Or we find fur, or we find this, or we find that, or we find nests built in the basements of these old buildings. At least we have something.
Exactly.
But when they come back and they say, I found a hair. Well, one of my guys showed me a thing the other day. I don't even remember where he found it. But a little kid found a nest, a bird's nest, a pretty good sized one, maybe about 8 inches in diameter. And it was full of hair.
Yeah.
I mean, straw, weeds, leaves, all that stuff, but there was hair in there.
Yep.
Now, she hands it to her, I believe her father or grandfather, who's a Bigfoot hunter. What does he do? He picks it up and puts it in his hands and starts pulling stuff out. Well, if there was anything in there, it's been destroyed. He just contaminated everything. Plus, she probably did the same thing. But it's another thing to look for. Birds' nests. I mean, they pick up all kind of trash. I've seen birds carry ribbons through the air. So why not hairs?
Very true. Very true. Were any of these latest sightings reported to local authorities, Butch?
Not that I'm aware of, because, 2 of the people are just scared to death. The one guy, the guy I had back in November, I mean, he doesn't even want to talk about it anymore. He said, I'm done. I'm never going in there again as long as I live. And he said, that's the end of it. He said, I told you what I know, what I saw, what we did, what happened. He said, Butch, nice talking to you. Have a nice life. See you. Goodbye. The other guy, he's scared to death. He has talked a little bit, and I think if we would calm him down some, I think we could get a little bit more out of him. But nobody wants to report it because, the giggle factor that falls into everything.
Yeah, and how do you get over that giggle factor? Because, even with the TV shows that are on today, the so-called reality, they're anything but reality. In fact, I was speaking to a guest yesterday who said that his group was approached by a production company, and the producer said, now, this is what we want. This is what we want. That's what we want. This is how we want you to act. And the guy said, no, that's not the way it is, so forget it.
Yep, been there and done that, and told them the same thing.
Yeah.
If you want actors, and you need to go to Hollywood and find some.
Yeah.
But I think what the giggle factor is just people not knowing what they're talking about. It's like skeptics, excuse me, when they say, show us the evidence, which I will say the same thing. I always said I'm a skeptical believer.
Yeah.
But, show me the evidence. If this is your story and you have no evidence, then you're just telling me a story. If you have a story and then you have evidence to prove that, what you just said, I'm on your side, and I'll do whatever I can to get you through it or help you with it. But most people don't do that. I mean, they just come out and they'll sprout the wildest stories that just, I shave my head, but damn, those people even make those little things curl.
So how are you and your group going to investigate these sightings of the I guess, can we call it a werewolf or a wolf man what do we call them?
I'm just going to call it a dog man flap.
Dog man flap. DMF.
Yeah, for lack of better.
All right.
But what we're going to do is it'll be our group, and it'll be Lon Strickler, 40 and his 40 and Research group, and the Bigfoot project, Keystone Bigfoot Project, and we're hoping to get some members from the Pennsylvania Bigfoot Society and Legend Hunters, and we're just going to get these groups, and two of them are very close.
Yeah.
Another one is about 30 miles away, but we have the equipment for that. We have the radios to cover that distance, so it's not a big deal, and we have all the equipment we need to get in and out of these mines safely, and so that's what we're going to do. We're just going to, mount up the posse and head on out, and hey, it'll be just like the old drug raids we used to go on. You know what I mean? We're not even going to knock.
How long do you think it'll take you to complete this investigation, Butch?
Well, if they keep coming in, this could be a career. But I'm going to say right now, I think if we spend, a couple weeks going around those areas and looking to see if what they said could have happened, and check out a couple of the places that are close by to see if there are buildings in that area. I'd sure like to get a hold of that if the deer carcass was all tore up like the guy said, the state wouldn't pick that up. They would just let it rot. So if we could get to that carcass and maybe get some bones and see chew marks or something like that, that could be too. That could be a good one there. But people need to remember that, Pennsylvania says we have no wolves. They also say we have no mountain lions, but we're on the fence about that one. But, you take a gray wolf from his nose to his butt, forget his tail, just his nose to his butt. He's 6 foot tall.
Wow.
6 foot long. If he stands up on his hind legs, and we have pictures of him standing on their hind legs, you look at him, look at it quick and turn your head, you just looked at Wolfman.
That's right.
So are these people seeing a gray wolf, or are they actually seeing what, Lon Chaney was best at?
Right. Once again, it could be just a matter of misidentification.
Yeah, sure. It could be.
Yeah.
Like I said, 2 stories match as far as description. The one I had was just kind of weird because it never looked at him or the dogs. And I want to tell you something, Rob. 2 dogs are after me or barking at me, I'm going to keep my eye on them the whole time. At the same time, I'm going to keep another eye looking for a tree to climb. But this creature just paid no attention to him or the dogs, just like they weren't even there. And why the next day they go into that area and they get that, that fear or flee syndrome that, they backed out with guns pointed forward, all the way to the truck. They were scared to death. And I said to the guy, so what did you feel? And he just said, look, he said, if we stayed there, something very, very bad was going to happen. And I went like what? He said, I can't tell you. He said, I don't know. He said, but it was going to be very, very bad. And I went, okay.
Butch, stand by. We've got to take our news break at the bottom of the hour. Exonation, Butch Witkowski is our special guest. www.paufosearch.com. Wow. Fascinating story. Butch, you'll have to keep us in the loop on this one, buddy. Butch and I will be back on the other side of this short break as we continue here in the X Zone from our broadcast center in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada. Whatever you do, X Zone Nation, don't go away. More to come. have energy problems in your home? Do you feel better when you're away than when you're home? Joey Korn is a global leader in the world of dowsing who specializes in personal energy clearing and space clearing. He can help you create an ideal energy environment in your home no matter where you live in the world. Learn about his remote spiritual house cleaning services and much more at www.dowsers.com. You can get Joey's book, Dowsing, A Path to Enlightenment, as well as other dowsing books and tools, Kabbalah books, and Walter Russell books. Joey's work is really amazing. Go to dowsers.com right now. That's DOWSERS.com or call 1-877-DOWSING. That's 1-877-369-7464. What if someone told you you could live to be 120? Would you believe him? What if he told you the Bible guaranteed it? All you needed to do was follow his rules and buy his products. Would you do it? What if you invested 20 years of your life in him? What if he tested his substances on your child? What if your child became brain damaged as a result? Meet Dr. Tyler Belknap, a fast-talking Texas admin turned health guru. At the helm of a vast health food and supplement empire, he has established himself as the authority on nutrition and longevity. But what his followers don't know is that his products are laced with bizarre psychoactive substances from genetically modified plants developed in his very own secret lab. No wonder his customers can't stop using them. Tyler Belknap will stop at nothing to keep his edge in the market, even if it means experimenting on children. Chasing 120, a story of food, faith, fraud, and the pursuit of longevity, a novel from the pen of political cartoonist Monty Wolverton, is an easy and entertaining read full of rich characters and intrigue. It hits home in a world filled with all kind of hucksterism and offers a glimpse of what can happen when GMO technology falls into the wrong hands. Chasing 120 by Monty Wolverton. Get your copy today at www.ptm.org/120 or on Amazon.com. How would you like to be able to read other people's minds? Well, the next best thing is here. When you know how to read a person's name, you know how the person thinks, feels, and behaves. Each letter in our name holds a key to unlock our true essence. Our name contains both our gifts and challenges in this lifetime. Mnemology science discovers personality secrets hidden in the placement of the letters of our names, including the first and last impression people remember about us. Sharon shows us how to interpret the arrangement of letters as outlined in her book, Know the Name, Know the Person. Sharon Lynn Wyeth created mnemology science after 18 years of research and testing her theories, and has supported thousands of people around the world in understanding themselves and others better. You'll enjoy Sharon's unique teachings as she shares her system to learn the gifts behind your given birth name. Even if you don't like your birth name, there are jewels in this book. If you're thinking of changing your name, ready to name your child, or wanting to get along better with others, this is the book for you. If you'd like to improve your relationships and change your life for the better, get the book today, Know the Name, Know the Person, or visit www.knowthename.com. That's www.knowthename.com. And welcome back, everyone. Butch Witkowski is our special guest of this hour. www.paufosearch.com. That's the UFO Research Center of Pennsylvania. Butch, the dog man flap or whatever. Were there any other paranormal events that were reported to you the same day? For example, were there any UFO sightings?
No. The one, I thought I had one, but it was like 3 days after the fact. But the sightings continue in Pennsylvania. I mean, we still have a load of orbs and a lot of triangles flying high and wide and long and huge, and they've slowed down a little bit for the month of July. Mm-hmm. I haven't seen anything up to date yet. Matter of fact, I haven't looked for anything up to date for August, but I'm sure it's going to be around the same thing, same amount, close to the same amount. But again, still the same orange orbs and triangles. Paranormal-wise, I haven't heard anything from anybody. But, you know, one of my guys was doing some of the research, mm-hmm. and, you know, the Chinkla Moose Native Village, which is now Clearfield, were Lenape Indian, and they didn't have a skinwalker. But they had something similar, which was called the Wendigo, which the Senecas, you know, were pretty much into. And it was one of those things where, and here's where we were trying to put together, because when these things were seen, they were the way the story goes is, if you saw one of these, you were going to die. I mean, you know, it was a death omen. And these witnesses, you know, returning back to the place where they saw it with their buddies and the rifles, you know, was that the feeling they had? Was that the uneasy feeling and that they had, that there was maybe an imminent thing of death, or you know, seeing their own death, yeah. Or maybe they could be killed? So, you know, it's hard to say. I mean, it's just, this is such an area of, I mean, there's no experts out there. I mean, there's a lot of stories, mm-hmm. But I don't know if anybody that's ever gone out and looked for them. I mean, a lot of reports we found, like I said, dating back to '93 in Pennsylvania, and some earlier, back into the 1800s. But strange. It's just like there's nothing to fall back on. So it's like starting at scratch at the 1800s and working our way up to the modern day reports that we're getting, and trying to put all that together, plus getting on the scene and seeing, first of all, if it could have happened the way they said it happened. So that's kind of where we're at with it.
Yeah. Over the commercial break and the news, Butch, I sent you a link to a paper that was submitted to us for distribution by three scientists, Aaron Mills, Gerald Mills, and Mitchell Townsend. They have found bones in the Mount St. Helen area of what they're saying is a bipedal hominid that has yet to be classified. I've sent you a copy of that report, so if you could give it a boo and let me know what you think, I'd appreciate it.
I certainly will.
Yeah.
But, you know, Mount St. Helens, you know, when they had the eruption out there, there's reports of creatures being taken off the mountain, mostly all pretty much dead and burned.
Oh, gosh.
But, and, you know, really wrecked body-wise, but they were taken off the mountain by military and law enforcement.
Speaking about military and law enforcement, when you do this investigation, would the park services be of any assistance to you folks in your investigation into finding out what this is? Or would they just kind of poo-poo it?
No, they would probably give us information. We've been to a couple state parks mm-hmm. where we went to the rangers or, you know, the park guards, or in some cases, it's Pennsylvania State Police that actually roll through because it's a state park. No, they're pretty helpful. You know, they gave us information, told us the best place to see something, or, you know, warned us of bad trails and stuff like that. So, no, they've been pretty good to us. I don't have any complaints with those guys.
No, but if they had reports from campers or from other people visiting the park, would they share that information with you?
They have face-to-face, but I've never had one call and give me something.
No way.
No, as long as, you know, if I'm standing there and asking them, you know, did you ever see this or did you ever have a report of that, then I'll get the report. But as far as them, you know, making that call or sending me an email, no, that's never happened.
So you're going to go out with a group of researchers, and what are you going to do if you come across this creature or these creatures?
Look out your window. I'll probably be running past it. Well, I don't know what we're going to do. I mean, you know, do we stand there and just stand there, or do we book?
All right, let me give you a hypothetical situation. You or another member of your... First of all, are you guys going to bring weapons with you?
You're not allowed to carry any type of firearm in state parks outside of hunting season. No concealed carry, none of that stuff. No black powder weapons, no bows and arrows. But, we all carry a good-sized knife.
All right, let us say, just for argument's sake, that something happens and you feel that you're defending yourself and you kill this creature.
Mm-hmm.
Where does the law stand on this?
Well, I'm sure that creature is not going to be listed in the game rules of Pennsylvania. That's number one. So it's not covered by any game laws. It's evidently not human, so it wouldn't be considered homicide.
But what happens if a DNA or forensic investigation finds out that it is very close to being human?
Time to lawyer up.
Yeah.
I mean, but again, like you said, if it was self-defense, I mean, if the creature got at you or took a swipe at you and, tore you up a little bit and you lucky enough to get a blow in that took it down, well, then that's self-defense. There wouldn't be any problem there. But I mean, if you just went out, if you set traps or you found a cave and you lit a fire in the cave and burned them out, or you intentionally went in there, I don't know, packing a bazooka or a hand grenade or a rocket launcher, I guess then they'd have you. But, I'd be thrilled just to see it.
Do you think there is an answer?
Yeah, there has to be. There has to be. Too many people that are so far apart from each other, not only in their livelihoods, but their lives in general, are coming up with the same story. I mean, they're given the same description. So, what is it? I mean, now, the Bigfoot thing's a little different because, that story, ever since Patterson-Gimlin film hit the airwaves back whenever, that story has just been rolled over and over and over and over and over. It's like talking about Roswell.
Yeah, exactly.
It just rolls over and over and over and over and over. And it gets more embellished and more parts and pieces get put into it. Some get taken out. Most get put in. So, it's a lost cause because nobody knows anything. And they have after all these years, 50 years? No evidence. Nothing. Not a DNA sample, not a picture, a good picture, nothing. They have nothing. They have a belief system, and that's what they rely on. That someday they're going to be lucky enough to walk down a trail and old Bigfoot's going to come out and they're going to share some beef jerky and have a beer and, that's it. Where, this stuff that's kind of really unexplainable, where it's a strange creature that has really only been seen a lot in the Southwest and the Northwest, and I'm talking about bipedal, not, bipedal wolf or dog-like creatures, not Bigfoot. And they're very elusive, but they seem to inhabit all these places I'm talking about in our state are not downtown New York. We're not looking at Manhattan Avenue here. I mean, you walk into these woods and you're in the woods. And, really great place to hide. They're not seen often, but when they are seen, they don't run where, everybody says, well, I saw Bigfoot, but he ran through the woods and I lost him. Or he disappeared over this hump, These things don't run. They'll stare you down. And, or they'll follow you. Now, I don't think that's going to be a real tickly experience on my part. But you might see my picture on sports magazine as the fastest human in the earth.
Well, as long as I don't see it on a milk carton, I'll be happy.
Yeah, you got that right. I don't want to see it there either. Yeah. But I just think there's something there that's just unexplainable, and it could be explainable. It could be total misrepresentation. It could be something standing up. So, with all the high-definition cameras we have and all the equipment we have, I think we should be able to put some of it to rest.
Sure.
And if not, it'll just stay the way it is. We'll just have to keep it.
In your opinion, Butch, is it possible for a species in Pennsylvania to evade identification?
Yes, yeah. We have places in Pennsylvania that nobody goes. They don't go hunting. They don't go camping. They don't go bicycling. They don't do anything. I mean, some of those areas in upstate Pennsylvania, they're so dense. Well, one of the darkest places in the country is in upstate Pennsylvania. I know a friend of mine has a hunting camp up there. You cannot walk outside in the dark without a flashlight.
Wow.
You'll walk into a tree. It's that dark. You can't physically see your hand in front of your face. It's black. And the astrologers love it because they have a big site they bought up there, and every year they hold a thing up there where it's complete. I mean, it's just so dark. I mean, they see everything in the sky. But, those places they're all over this state. And the fact we have so many mines, we have so many caves, we have so many abandoned buildings, again, all over the state and in these heavily wooded areas, because back then lumber, was big, shoes manufacturing,
right.
Weapons manufacturing for the military. They didn't put those in downtown, areas. They moved them up into the woods where they could be guarded very well because there was maybe only one road in and out, or they could fence them in. Pennsylvania, the nuclear station, which I believe I talked about with you once before, up at Queehana Wild area, who would put a nuclear power station? It wasn't a power station; it was a nuclear research station in the middle of a state game land, because there's only one road in and one road out, and there was a set of train tracks, maybe half a mile from that facility, and they were trying to build, or they were researching to build nuclear engines for commercial and small commercial airlines and private planes. And when that shut down, that's still there. It's still restricted area.
Really?
We know folks took a core sample not too awful long ago, and that core sample lit it up.
Wow.
So they were smart enough to dig a very large hole and bury it very quickly. But, you're talking about strontium-90. Man, touch that stuff and hold on to it for 5 minutes, and you're not going to live another 5 minutes. That's it. I mean, it's just the way it is. But that's up there in the middle of a game land.
Have you seen that alleged UFO footage from Puerto Rico that was supposed to have been taken by a Department of Homeland Security or Customs craft? What's your take on that?
That's very weird. That is very strange. I mean, whoever was taking the photograph was doing a hell of a job because they were right on it. I don't know if they were using a gun camera. It would almost seem to me like they would have to, because a gun camera it'll follow to a stop and it'll pick right up, and it doesn't lose you in a frame. It'll just stay with you. And that thing was right on the money. So I don't know what that was, but they got it, and I think it's really good. I from what I saw. But
my question was why did it take two years for it to surface? And another thing, the reports that were issued by the Puerto Rican UFO group that put it up at first on YouTube, the date is wrong, because if you look at the report date and you look at the date on the that's embedded in the video, two different dates.
Yeah, there's something wrong there. Now, it could be a legitimate mistake, but usually when you see something like that where you have date difference or day difference, or time, or weather is a big one.
Yeah.
Now seeing that, and I really didn't follow it all that much, but seeing that, the next thing I would have done was I would have checked out the weather for that area for that day. Mm-hmm. Now, if they said the ceiling was 1,000 feet, well, that's a load of crap. It just doesn't happen that way. You're not looking through cloud cover.
Yeah.
I don't care what anybody has, what kind of camera. Even infrared would have a problem to follow it like that.
Sure. Here. Speaking about just going back to the dog files, let's call it that. Were there any reports in local media?
No, not one. No. But to be fair, they don't report. They don't put it. They'll put in the occasional Bigfoot report.
Right.
Like when you got something. We had a guy here in Pennsylvania said he shot one. We had a guy here in Pennsylvania said one attacked his mobile home or his motor home. All turned out to be a hoax.
And that doesn't help the credible people like yourself who are going out there trying their best to discover what exactly people are seeing.
Yeah, sure it does. But it happens, and for whatever reason, I mean, look at the Mexican thing that just happened, in ufology. I mean, that's another thing. I mean, like people say, "Oh, it didn't hurt ufology." Well, I beg to differ. I think
Yeah.
it really did hurt ufology.
Well,
And you know, and the guy that put it on, you know, he has a history of hoax reports.
Mm-hmm.
So why would you believe anything that guy was saying to you?
up to this point, what has been your biggest proof, I mean, besides your own sighting, that there are legitimate UFO reports coming in?
I think pictures and film that we got, plus the fact that we've never, nobody in the group has ever been alone when we saw something.
Right.
There's always been 2, 3, 4, 5 people, and in some cases, we even had law enforcement standing there with us. So, you know, if somebody wants to go call that 6'4" trooper that was standing with us at the last waylay that we had a liar, have at it.
Well, I'll tell you something. The other day, or was it last week, I had a lady on the show who was telling me that all the missing people on this planet are being eaten by 7 to 8 foot tall cannibals from Mars.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's a new one.
Yeah, and that 30,000 Americans have been sucked up out of underground bases by the aliens.
Boy.
You know, I hear these people, and these were two different people, two different.
I was going to ask when her book was coming out.
Oh, she's got a number of them already out.
Oh, God.
Yeah, and then I had another guy tell me about a 300-mile long, 60-mile high UFO that is in a perpetual orbit around Earth. Another guy told me about a satellite tracking system that is throughout the solar system that reports back to a planet elsewhere of what we're doing. You know, so when you hear all these stories, and you know, people are coming out of the woodwork with these sensationalistic stories, Butch. How are the people who really want to have a real interest or who have had an experience, what are they to do?
Well, I just, we're going to be going down to Tennessee, and a gentleman and a couple of his buddies, and he is ex-Air Force security, retired, and it's about all I'm going to say about him or the location, but he and his buddies live by a mountain, and it's kind of like the only mountain in the area, and it's not really a big mountain. It's, you know, not 10,000 or anything like that. It's 1,000, 1,500 feet. But over a period of a year, they watched towers go up, and they saw this going up, and a lot of construction in the area, and people were saying, well, they're just putting up cell towers. So this one day, the three of them get together, and they decide, well, you can drive up so far, then you got to walk. There's a walking trail, which leads to a bike trail, which takes you down the other side. But they went up instead of going down. And when they get there, this place is fenced in with signs on it. U.S. government property, do not trespass. And beyond that fence, there's a second fence, which they think looks to be electrified. They see nobody there. So they really can't walk around it. It's a very large area, a very large building, site.
Right.
One guy's a pilot. So a couple days later, they jump in his plane, and they go up, and they take pictures. And this, you know, it's supposed to be the cell tower installation plus a weather station for the government. Well, there's nothing. There's nothing that tells you it's a weather station. There's no satellite dishes. There's no antennas. There's none of that stuff. There's just big buildings, a couple of big towering, look like water containers, you know, like water towers.
Right.
So they do that, and they keep their pictures. And they reported it to another UFO agency, which never responded, never sent anybody there to even talk to them, but wanted to have them send the pictures to them. So the one guy was looking on Google, and I did too. He gave me the coordinates, and I have his pictures, and I looked on Google. That installation is not there. Well, all you see is a lot of...
Yeah, with Google, though, their maps aren't always updated. Like, I looked the other day at our house on Google, and it was from 5 years ago.
Okay, well, this one was only 2 years old.
Oh, wow.
And you can still see the towers now that the leaves are starting to fall. You know, it's getting a little cooler now, you know, now you can see the towers, so he sent me pictures of those. And then one of the other things was that, they had tried to go up again to take a better look and take more pictures, and the trail they walked up is no longer there.
Wow.
But they did take pictures of them. What they did notice was that there were a lot of pine trees that looked kind of weird. And he sent me 2 pictures. He said, there's about a dozen of these up there. And it's a plastic pine tree. The tree itself is plastic, looks just like a tree, but it's plastic, fiberglass. And the branches are all fiberglass that go up. They're all the same size. They're trying to mimic a
holy cow,
a pine tree. Then when you get up to the top, you can see there are about 3 foot tall, 2 foot wide, I'm going to say antennas, they're probably antennas, and they're all pointing, like the one group of trees, they're all pointing north, and they, with a compass, it's exact north. When they go the other side, there's a group over there, they're pointing exact south, another group is pointing exact east, and another group is pointing exact west. What the hell is that all about? So we're going to go down and take a look, see what we come up with.
Hey, Butch, keep us in the loop, will you, my friend? It's always great having you on the show.
Absolutely.
And take care of yourself, and my best to your team, and I look forward to the next time you join us here in the X Zone. But check out that link I send you. I'd really appreciate hearing your comments.
Okay. Good to talk to you again.
Good talking to you, my friend. Be safe.
You too.
Bye-bye now. Exonation,
Bye.
Butch Witkowski has been my guest this hour. www.paufosearch.com. I'll be back tomorrow night at 8 o'clock as once again we cross the time-space continuum to this place that I call the X Zone. So from everyone here at the X Zone Broadcast Network and the Starcom Radio Network, good night, everyone. Be safe. I'll see you tomorrow.